Welcome to this video, which is all about Horus, or otherwise known as Heru. And if none of us know what Horus looks like, I'm sure we do, but just in case, for those that don't, this is what Horus looks like. This is a very, very handmade statue all the way from Egypt. In fact, this is my son Bevan's statue. When we last went to Egypt, this is what he picked up. He became very, very connected and awakened when it came to Horus. So his nickname is Baby Horus. I suppose you'd call me Isis. But this is the statue that he picked up, and he was having none of it. He was like a 5-year-old in the shop going, I want it. I want it. Who am I to stand between divine connection and brotherhood, right? So that's Horus, right? So with this month of joyous June and taking us into juicy July. So let's just revisit what the tone of this whole month is about. So we really worked into the depths of the heart of Hathor last month, and we really just anchored into the joy codes, into the celebration. And we were like, it was a no-brainer. There is, it's non-negotiable. It's joy, and if anything's going down that's shadowy, it's because we're on our way to joy. That was the whole tone of it. And as we moved into juicy July for me is absolute union. It's where we're going to be working a lot with focusing our energies and our awareness in the divine balance, right? So Hathor made it very clear that she's to continue with us. Like I said, exactly the same thing when we were working with Wadjet in May. Like, this is what's giving me such a powerful indication that we are indeed coming into union, because last year when I'd worked with a deity, they would come in and they would go out, moving on to the next. But now I'm finding that we are embodying them in such a deep level as we work together here, through the channel and coming to temple and all the things, that we're really noticing that there is, they're not leaving. Why? Because there is a presence and an embodiment that happens when you work really at the level that we're working with Hathor, with Sekhmet, and now with Horus. So everything is now kind of an add-on, which means we are indeed coming into wholeness. Because if you're awakening these aspects of the gods or the goddesses within you, that's not separation, is it? Separation, in a way, last year was a very different energy to where we are now. So last year we were still going through the dark nights of the soul and really kind of like chipping away at it. This year was the transformation, and that's what we knew was going to be happening, and this is what it feels like, this is what it looks like. So we are still and going to remain so under the banner of Sekhmet and Hathor, and and we're just like bringing in other deities now, and it's actually Horus that has been tapping me on my shoulder, because I was just like, well, I mean, it makes sense, because Horus and Hathor were actually consorts. If you go back to the teachings, yes, Isis was his mother, but then you also had Hathor that was also seen as Horus's mother, because she looked after him when he was a baby. But when he got older, obviously they became twin flames. I mean, all gods and goddesses have a sacred counterpart, because masculine and feminine is not a gender, it is a frequency. And for creation to happen, those two energies and frequencies need to be present. So I'm talking a lot in this video about the importance of knowing ourselves in that twin flame frequency. And as I've said before, the twin flame has been kind of misunderstood and taken in the wrong direction, because everybody's abandoned their post and tried to find well, not everybody, there's a good portion of us that have decided to go and find our significant other in someone else, and that's the mission. And it's like, you're going to be forever chasing and looping with that, because the true divine counterpart that you seek is here. That's why they say kingdom of heaven is within you. This is when you seek divine partnership and sacredness within yourself. You are the twin flame that you seek. You come into this oneness, and that is why it is not always set in stone in this life that somebody will actually have a physical human divine counterpart, because some of us come to this place where we're like, God, I'm feeling so whole and so balanced that they might not feel the need to actually partner up with anybody in this life. And that's okay, because it's an inside job. So it's not that we have to be in union with a physical other in this life, because once we're tapped into spirit and we are in that heart of one, and we're in that balance, then pick what you like. Do you know what I mean? Because you've maintained that, and that's where it comes out in the wash, where we start to understand now that actually connecting with that physical other, they don't complete you. I say this all the time. I'm a whole lot of whole. There's no other half to me. I'm like, there's enough going on here, and I'm enough, right? So that's kind of like the way that the twin flame energies are going. And this is the thing. There's a lot of us that say, I am a twin flame. We're all twin flames, because at the end of the day, if we're oneness wisdom, we all hold the same same frequencies. Same with empaths. We're all empaths. We can all feel energy. There is just different levels of us that have kind of woken up to certain levels of sensitivity with that. And there's different levels of us that have woken up to the fact that we are needing to, rectify a divine balance within us. That's a twin flame energy, right? Where your divine masculine meets your divine feminine and it comes into balance, right? And that's an inside job. Everything is, right? So now bringing Horus into the mix, I'd like to really dedicate this video to him because he's all about sacred balance. He really is. And he is a protector. He's a sun god. He's a shapeshifter. He's the god of the sky. My right ear is going, woo! And he's obviously telling me more things right now, but like maybe giving me a double thumbs up or double wings up because he's a hawk, you know what I mean? So he's like his mother Isis is a kite, okay? Not a kite that you fly in the sky, a kite. Just want to rectify that, you know what I mean? But Horus will always give you a bird's eye view of everything. And of course, he was the last living, breathing god in human form that basically ruled in Egypt, So obviously, son of Osiris. And I'm going to break down the list, which is going to give you a lot of synchronicities as to how Horus plays out in your life, right? Now, he brings balance. Before we even get to the divine sacred counterparts between Horus and Hathor, before we even get to that, he has got a lot of balance going on in his own story on its own. So now he went from weakness to strength. Okay, so listen to the synchronicities of this, right? So Horus is very much likened to Yeshua, right? And they both had the same human incarnation where they had to go through their lessons and their initiations and their teachings from a very young age. They had massive boots to fill. I mean, like Horus had to fill his father's boots, Osiris, and he's pretty big, right? And then Yeshua, wow, God, that's a big throne to fill, isn't it, really? Do you know what I mean? But he had, that they both had absent fathers and very powerful mothers that had to hold the space for them. So first of all, what are they showing us here? The balance between able to walk between two worlds, because his father Osiris was in the underworld. God, his father, was in the sky, right? Or up in heaven, or whatever you want to call it. Both physical mothers were present. Isis was in the middle world, and Mother Mary, she was also in the middle world as well. So there was that is a display of the two worlds that they sort of walked between. And of course they embodied that, right? Even Yeshua, when he was growing up, was incredibly painful in his body. Think about your attunements that you've had to go through. Think about the dark nights of the soul. Think about the horrible sick energy days. Think about your clairaudience waking up and all of those things that we've all been through, which is our gifts coming online. Can you imagine? Yeshua knew that he only had this much time to do it. Same as Horus, right? So let's go back to Horus's story. His whole thing was that he was born and he had to go and reclaim his throne. But that was a long time coming because Isis had to kind of look after her son, make sure that he wasn't murdered, because that's what was happening from Set, his uncle. All of that family history, we know that obviously the jealous uncle Set was a land grab. And of course, Horus was a massive threat because he was the rightful one to take the throne. So of course, his life was under massive challenge from the get-go, and he had to kind of embody his gifts and learn his lessons. So that's what we talk about when he goes from weakness to strength, the most powerful king ever. So that was a huge journey. But what I love about Isis and Horus and other gods like that, like Nephthys, they all took human form. So when I work with Isis, who by the way has been coming up ever such a lot, expect a video with her in the coming days because I have just been feeling her a lot. And she's a real shamanka. She's a real shaman for me because she knew, she's the goddess of perseverance to me. So for her to actually uphold and protect her son, she had to go through some serious shit as a mother to make sure that he was safe, right? So she is the goddess of perseverance. So she knows what the human struggle is like, as does he, which is why I think that we really have a powerful connection with Horus and Yeshua, right? So now, so I've spoken about the absent father. So now the energy of Horus, right, which is where we relate to him. And this is where I'm stepping in and talking about the chaos and the calm, right? So he had the absolute ability to really, really push too hard when he was young. And that was at the demise of things going terribly wrong for him because he was young and he was youthful. He was flipping angry, had a lot of rage in him. So Sekhmet was firing on all cylinders because his uncle killed his father, and he wanted revenge, right? That's what he wanted. So that was like fueled in him. And it's just like, oh, and that took hold of him, and it actually created impatience. So basically, he wanted to rage and go to war with his uncle to avenge his father's death. And what happened is his eye was seriously injured, which is where the story comes from. And it was through his impulsive rage, which is where I teach about Sekhmet, harnessing your flames, tame the flame, harness your power, right? Because when it burns out of control, we do silly things, we say silly things, and we just go into the chaos. And this is what his teaching's all about. Every single deity will show you that. So of course he went into the rage and he lost his center and he went into the chaos. Remember, his uncle Set is the god of chaos. So this is like love or hate Set. I love Set because he's a real trickster energy and he can be your friend and your foe. It depends which way you want to look at it. But I love Set because he brings up the shadow and he will show you shadow in all places. And if you feel inclined to take responsibility for your stuff, then he's your best guy to work with, right? So here he is with his nephew fighting, bringing out the worst side of him. I was injured. In comes Hathor. She loves up his eye with her mother's milk, which is compassionate love. So she brought a lot of love and unconditional love to Horus. And that's where the love affair kind of started. So now all of a sudden you have like this loyalty, this leadership, this kingship that now comes into power and presence. And it's joined by the energy of Hathor, which is love and compassion. And it's the balance of the chaos, right? Because now Hathor brought that calm to that space. So in a way, I suppose Sekhmet was very much at play, delivering stories like she does and lessons in this story of Horus, right? So every corner you look at, you know what I mean? There's going to be, oh, it's all about balance. Oh, it's all about balance. Now, let me step in now to further medicine to do with Horus, right? Now, he has obviously he has two eyes. Left eye is lunar. Right eye is the sun. So the left eye of Horus, it's the moon. The right eye is Ra, and that's the sun. So that is a balance in itself, right? So Luna is obviously your left side is your spiritual side, it's your divine feminine, and it's the calm, it's emotional, right? It's intuitive, it's clairvoyant. And the right side is the sun, solar energy, it's power, it's creation. And those two, when they're in balance, divine. But when you let the sun rage out of control, it can be chaos, you know, and then it blocks the intuition. So this divine balance that we get with Horus, he creates it right here because he's all about vision. He's a visionary. So if we can see the world in balance, right, because we've harnessed the chaos and we hold our center no matter what, then all of a sudden that's mastery. We know ourselves as a master, right? So how does that look like in everyday life? So you could be seeing, okay, so I'm going to give this like, you know, because let's face it, everybody is kind of like scared of being seen, scared, you know, this is kind of a common tone. And that's the reason why I've picked this scenario, is because we all feel a little bit fearful about going out there and being seen in whatever way that might be, fear of being taken out. So if there is someone in your space that's projecting towards you, somebody who's a bit of a bully, or is an energy out there where it's making you shrink and go small, okay, that is a perfect example of you letting the chaos of that person and their projection send you off balance and off your center because you've gone into the fear. In Horus's case, the chaos sent him into the absolute injustice of it all, that he murdered my father, sent him into the rage, which was uncontrollable. So you can see how external forces, if they are in chaos, will challenge you to hold your center. Now, it's the Atlantean code, as they call it, but I'm just going to, it doesn't matter. The ancient being within you, okay, knows how this works, right? So the true meaning of being a master, you know, and this is what we're finding. In fact, I'm going to do a video on Atlantis as well, because those codes have been coming up massively, because we're activating that blueprint that has all this wisdom and knowledge. So I'm jumping around a bit here. But the Atlantean code, right, taught you that you don't go to the temple anymore. You don't go to the altar. Why? Because you are the temple. Because you are the altar. So think about that. Going to the altar or the temple to give offerings. You're going outside of yourself to go over there to give something. But then if you now start to regard yourself as the temple, and you regard yourself as the, as the sacred place, the altar, and you're giving offerings, but you're giving it to the temple, then who are you giving it to? It's you. So you're receiving that. So that's the whole purpose of us to get to that point where that's the oneness wisdom. However, we can only be challenged to really nail this, right, when we're in our everyday life. So, I mean, I can go and sit in Egypt for 10 days with you lot and we can have a wonderful time. And it's all so easy to channel and see the vision and do all the things. But this is what I always say to you guys when you come traveling with me. When we get back, that's the easy part. We now need to integrate that, and you need to put that into play. So when you are in challenging situations with other people that are full of shit, or situations that are not coming online, family members, whatever, stuff's coming at you, bro, can you hold your peace and your center through Hathor's compassionate love and allow the chaos just to be there and hold the balance? Upholders of Ma'at, right? So that is kind of like the Atlantean way. And that's how we did it back then, because we all had our twin flame frequencies firing on all cylinders. Everybody was balanced. And because of that, we were able to just, kumbaya, right? And another thing I want to chuck into the mix, because Horus is the god of protection, as is Sekhmet, right? As is Anubis, as is Wadjet, right? So when we call them in for protection, no more thinking because you're unsafe. No more, right? You're calling in protection. Why? What is real protection actually telling you? It's actually telling you to get into alignment, because this is what I put to you, right? Giving you a lot today. If you understand and you truly believe what I'm saying is, hey, Gospel of Marie, take it or leave it. But if you're on the same page as me, where you think, right, okay, well, when I'm in alignment, I always look at it like Star Trek. There's like a shaft of light. Beam me up, Scotty. Most of the times of the day I want to do that. Just beam me up, please. Like, get me out of here. But anyway, beam me up, Scotty. We're in this like shaft of light, which is beautiful. And then bit by bit, we start to wander away from the light. And we're like, oh, I don't feel very well. Oh, I don't feel very well. And I'm out here now because I've come out of alignment from my divine flow. Oh, this doesn't feel very good. And then shit starts happening to me. Oh, I need to protect myself. I need to protect myself. Well, maybe don't stay out there. Come back into alignment. Because when you're in alignment, you are love. You are truth. You are divine. You are heart of one. That is it, and that is all. That means everything is of that. That's what oneness means, right? When we do that, and we come out of that light, and we come out of our heart space, it's a little bit cold outside, and the dark is really, really dark, and we're prone to being taken out because we're out of alignment. So if we and we're starting to go back into our head, but if we come in here and we're in our heart, that then dictates, or rather awakens, the eye of the lunar, the eye of the sun. Okay, Horus's vision. Everything is true. Everything is balanced and everything is divine. No need to protect yourself. So when we say calling in protection, what are we actually calling in? Do you really think that you're going to get taken out? Probably, because out there in the dark, there's all sorts of stories and shit that can go on. You know what I mean? Your feet are going to get dirty. But here, if you're actually in alignment, nothing can touch you. There is only light. There is only love. If there's something psychically coming at you, bro, well, you know what? Most of the time it's your own stuff, but also as well, yeah, the dark and nasties are real, absolutely. But that just gets sorted out if you just come into alignment. Because when you're in the heart of one and the heart of Mother, Father God, then everything's divine. That's why Yeshua / Horus, kingdom of heaven is within you, right? So let's go on to Set a little bit more, because I've written here, rage equals injury. This is quite cool. Rage equals injury and patience equals presence. Now listen, let's keep it real. Marie's not saying she's nailed it. I'm the most flippin' impatient person ever. And I've just been sat at my altar there having a good old chat to the beings. And they were like, slowly, calm. They were like, I was like, but when though? When? And they were like, listen, just, be in the rhythm. And when I get impatient, I start to push things forward before they should happen. And then it actually doesn't work, and I actually don't feel very nice about it. So it really is going back to what I just said, coming into that balance of Horus. He's a visionary. He's all about the left and right eye. He's all about, you know what I mean? He understands the assignment. He understood the code, right? So now Hathor is like the divine mother. And of course, Horus is like, her counterpart, even though a bit weird, isn't it? Because she was like depicted it as mum a minute ago, but hey, no judgment, no judgment. Who knows what went on in those times? But compassionate love / her mother's milk healed his eye. That's how she brought him back into alignment. And then he understood his lessons and kind of like, you know, I mean, I suppose really the biggest lesson in all of this is like not to sweat it, because we came here to learn. You're going to go through things where you're supposed to fuck it up a little bit, so you can sit back there and reassess and go, how could I have done things better? Let me try it this way. And then you've got something to compare it to. Because if we all just came in and we're just, oh, we're divine, there's no point in being here. Right? So a lot of love for yourself, which is what Hathor's helping us do, because remember, Hathor is all about helping us come into this physical body. We are wanting to live here and now. She is actually, we can only receive divine blessing, right, if we are willing to be in the middle world. But if you're too scared because you're stuck in the stars, or if you're too scared where you've come out the stars and, okay, I'll take a step closer, but you're still stuck in the underworld doing too much shadow work, and it's not ending, then there's an avoidance for this middle earth. This is union. So as above, so below. So within, so without. So by bringing Horus into this space, like, he's helping us understand and have more compassion for our human experience, because he went through it. And he's helping us understand how our fire emotions, which is really, really undealt with shadow, can pull us off our center. It really is just about the balance, right? And one liner to end this video, which I think is quite flipping cool. I read something the other day and it said, I hope I can remember it now, otherwise I'm going to look like a full tonsil. What did it say? Experience uninitiated is just ego. Oh, experience uninitiated means you're in your ego. What that means is, and I was a perfect example of this, this can mean many things. You can be sat there as a teacher, false prophet, spouting off things because you've read shitloads of books and you know it in your logical, but you haven't quite embodied the lessons to turn experience and knowledge into wisdom. The only way that that can happen is by you learning something, understanding something. Remember, learning is from the mind. Learning, then when you bring it into experience, as in you start living by it, it triggers the remembering. And when you remember, you start to live by that knowledge you had, and it starts to come in and you start to integrate it, you embody it, and then that becomes wisdom, because you can refer back to that experience and say, yeah, I did that, and I know it to be true, right? So that can sometimes be avoided by some false prophets out there who are just basically just passing on words, right? Because they don't want to go through that process. Because sometimes taking experience into wisdom means that you've got to do the initiations. And there's a lot of people out there that don't want to do the initiations because it's hard and it's stingy and it's sore and it's like leg day at the gym. No one wants to do it, or abs or burpees, right? But the other side of that is like, you know, I get so excited with my channels. Like, if you could see my desk now, it's full of books, journals. You don't even want to look over there. I'm like a mad professor today, right? Because there's so much energy coming in and remembrance. And what happens is I bang it out on a video too soon. And I've had Merlin say to me, hold thy tongue until one has integrated what they have received. And that doesn't come from a false prophet place. It comes from a lack of receiving. Because I won't let myself receive those fruits, eat those fruits, enjoy the juice before I go and share it with others, right? If you're starving hungry and I give my burger away, I mean, that's ridiculous. So I need to eat the food, get nourished first, let it land, because it's for me, and then I'll share it with you guys. So I've been sat on this video for a while, so I definitely have lived by that. Because when you get telling off from Merlin, yeah, you don't want to pursue that. You don't want to pursue that at all. Telling off from Merlin and Sekhmet, I don't advise it. Just listen and go yes, and just adhere. So this is the video of Heru, of Horus. And we're bringing his energy in because leadership, kingship, visionary, flying up there to get a bird's eye view on what may be a little bit confusing on this level. But most of all, it's about the balancing of the distortions, which is the chaos, which clouds your judgment. Chaos makes you doubt. Chaos makes you think all sorts of things. So it's telling you that something's out of balance. Bring in Hathor, mother's milk. Help her bring love and compassion to what you're experiencing. So that's my share for you today, my lovelies. And I will see you on the next video, as always. Peace.